in. It's Warhammer time. It's time. Welcome, 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 everybody. Hope you guys are having a good day. Yeah, God. Your eyes do not deceive you. It is a Warhammer stream. And look, obviously, not everybody in the community has figured out that Warhammer is the dopest dope ever. But a lot of you have. And I'm proud of you guys. You know what I mean? I'm proud of you. So we're gonna kind of carry the charge forward together, and we are going to get into some Warhammer discussion, because it literally is, guys, the very best time ever to get into Warhammer. So we're gonna talk about that. I'm gonna break that down. Like, what does that mean? Why? We're gonna talk about additions. We're gonna get into discussions of the game, etc., etc. So that's what's on the agenda. Hang on one second. I have to adjust a thing. You think I'd like look at my hair before I started a stream, but no, I don't see it until I'm right about to go live, and then I get mad at it and tweaked out, and I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck? What the actual fuck? Ah, fuck it. Whatever. Hair's crazy. I got back from the gym. Fucking, it's not about me. It's not about me. It's about Warhammer. So shut up. Anyway, how you guys doing? What's going on? How many of you guys are there? Are there dozens here? Do we have dozens of people here willing to check out some Warhammer shit? Did I ever play Necromunda? No, I have not played Necromunda, actually. I mean, I know some of the models, and they look dope as fuck, but I have not personally ever played it, no. I have not personally ever played it. Honestly, I find Warhammer to be a little bit intimidating. I totally get you there, man. Trust me. We'll get into all of that tonight, because it is literally the best time ever to get into it. We're about to get into a new edition. I'm going to explain kind of like all of what that means. You know, what's kind of interesting. Look, let me kill this music here. It's kind of time to get serious. It's time to get serious. Let's get into it. So I have been into Warhammer for 4 years, maybe a little bit over 4 years at this point. You guys actually might know exactly when better than even I, but I know that I got in at the end of 9th edition. And so I got into the edition, or I got into the game at the end of 9th edition. So I saw what happened with 10th edition. I was able to witness all of that sort of stuff, and that's about to happen again. And that sort of creates a hype cycle. It's a good entry point for a lot of people. It's an exciting time for people that play the game in general. So this is a great time to get into the game. And I've only been in the game for like 4 years, but I obviously love Warhammer. I won't shut up about it. A lot of you guys are like either mad about it or pumped about it at this point. But yeah, it is what it is. I love Warhammer. So what I decided to do, because I've been thinking about this, right? I do the Warhammer Explained channel. Obviously haven't made a ton of videos on that channel, but we are making videos again. It's just kind of slow going, and I'm building a library for the lore content. And I was like, okay, well, what do I want to do that's a little bit more day to day? Like, I don't want to have to wait to do a whole script and a recording and an edit for a Warhammer Explained video to like talk about Warhammer. And I was thinking about it. I was like, okay, I could do like some more lore stuff. There was a time where I was going to do this podcast, and I was going to maybe do a podcast with even Matt from like Nerd of the Rings. And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, you know what I want to do? I just want to talk about the actual Warhammer game, which will be the focus of this other channel that I want to make. And Warhammer's kind of unique in the sense that the game, essentially, because everything in the lore, the books, even the video games to a degree, it all revolves around the game. Even if you just kind of make your focus the game, there's a lot of other things that you can talk about. But essentially, you know, when you create YouTube content or whatever, you kind of have to be a little specific about the value that you're bringing to other folks, right? So this channel, right, the streaming channel here for Den of Nerds Live is really more like, you know, Marvel, Star Wars, the popular IP that we mostly cover. That's kind of like the audience I've gained over time. So what we'll do is we'll do an occasional stream here on the live channel, which will obviously be not as popular as the other streams, where we'll focus just completely on Warhammer. What I'll then do is I'll cut out clips from these streams and maybe do like a little bit of editing and upload those to the Nerdhammer channel. So that's what I think. I've kind of decided what I want to do. I've been thinking about it for a while. I was like, okay, well, how do I sort of do this where I can get more, make more Warhammer content? Because I'm always thinking about Warhammer. I'm engaging with the game quite often. And I think that I want to add like sort of a vloggy kind of a thing over there on that channel. It'll all make sense when you see it. It'll make sense when you see it on the Nerdhammer channel. But that's kind of how we'll be able to do this. I'll do the occasional stream here where we go over a bunch of stuff, including outlining some games. Like one of the things I want to do for the Nerdhammer channel is discuss the different games that I play with like some B-roll or whatever, but kind of like take you through the story of a Warhammer game, potentially even Warhammer tournaments that I go to, and like kind of do like a storytelling thing with the content that also kind of relives like the hype and the excitement of like the game. It'll make sense. It'll make sense when you see it. But that's kind of like the plan, so I've kind of decided on that. So what's I guess you know, good and bad about that is it'll make these streams even more niche than just talking about Warhammer, because I'm not just going to talk about Warhammer tonight. I'm going to very specifically talk about the Warhammer tabletop game, the actual tabletop game. So we're doing niches within niches, and so I expect about 5 of you to get it and be into it, but we'll see. We'll probably get more people that are into the game and into like my takes on the game over time, and we'll just kind of grow it from there. So that's kind of the plan. That's what I want to do. And yeah, we'll get into it in just a second, because I want to start by talking about why this is the best time ever to get into Warhammer. And I can address like questions and whatnot that people have as well. So that's kind of the plan. That's kind of the plan. And, you know, I got a lot done today for like Den of Nerds. I got a lot of like regular YouTube stuff done. So I feel good. Like, I don't feel like I've abandoned my YouTube responsibilities for Den of Nerds to like do Warhammer content. So this is kind of just like bonus stuff. It's like icing on the cake. You know, we're going to stream tomorrow. There's a lot of interesting things to talk about tomorrow with nerdy shit, some Spider-Man stuff, Tom Rothman stuff. Yeah, so we'll be back to regular business tomorrow. But tonight is for the Warhammer fans, man. Tonight is for the Warhammer fans. Before we get into the first sort of clip, the first sort of discussion, does anybody have any questions? Just any just regular old questions as I finish a little bit of this coffee here. Coffee at 6 p.m. probably bad, but fuck it. Fuck it, bro. Who's the Babu Frick of Warhammer? Well, I don't know exactly who the Babu Frick would be, but I can tell you one of my favorite little like critters from Warhammer. Here, I'll show you these guys. These guys are actually cool. So the Space Marine chapter that I collect is called the Dark Angels. Maybe you've heard me gush about them before because they're the best. That's why I picked them. So check this out. These are called the Watchers in the Dark. They're like these little hooded, almost Jawa looking motherfuckers. And they're very mysterious and magical. They use like the war powers and shit like that. Not a ton is known actually about them. They're incredibly powerful. Demons cower at them. They save the lion's life. There's a lot of weird shit about them, but they are also kind of depicted as these just like cutesy little critter dudes. I actually have a plushie, like a stuffed Watcher in the Dark. I got it for my son. Shut up. I got it for me. We're among friends. It's okay. I got it for me, chat. So yeah, that's, I don't know if that's like the Babu Frick or whatever, but that's one of the ones that I like. Any other questions? East Coast? Yeah, I'm East Coast. Will it be covering some of the lore as well as the game? Yeah, but probably mostly game stuff, to be honest with you. I'll put a lot of the lore stuff in the Warhammer Explained thing, but occasionally there's crossover. So, like, right now, right, 500 Worlds. 500 Worlds is an initiative for the game. It's like an event. It's you know, all these different rules, all these different ways to play. It's a thing in the game, but there's obviously books, and the lore is being pushed within it. So one of the things that's kind of unique about Warhammer is everything kind of goes through the game. The lore kind of goes through the game. Like here's like one thing that's kind of weird. So Primarchs. The main reason the Primarchs are all probably going to return is because they are awesome models that people will buy, right? Like at the end of the day, the Primarchs are fucking dope models. People are going to buy them. So therefore, the lore is going to figure out any way it needs to for them to all return. They will all come back eventually, I think. That might take years or whatever, but like think about so in a sense, yeah, we're gonna talk about some lore, yeah, but it'll be game focused. A lot of what we're about to talk about. Did you see they had to recall the Drukhari Combat Patrol? Them Dark Elf fans can't catch a break. I did see that. I didn't see why. Why did they have to recall it, Adam? Because I didn't even see, like, I saw that, but I didn't see like why. It is very nerdy. It is very nerdy, yes. If you were to write a movie, would you replace orcs with something a little more alien? A Warhammer movie? I could see how orcs would be kind of a tough sell with the very first big Warhammer movie for sure. You know, they're like football hooligans. They all have like British accents. It's odd. The orcs are strange. I think orcs are very charming. Like there's kind of interesting, weird, charming parts of Warhammer. But yeah, I do think you kind of want to sell it to the audience as like hardcore, beefed up military stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's kind of the vibe. Like overly zealot, religious overtone, big, bulky military stuff. You know what I mean? But orcs are cool. Don't get me wrong. I like me some orcs. It has glasses and needs a haircut. Hey, don't say that. I just got a haircut today, okay? This one curl's going crazy because I got back from the gym and I didn't do shit to my hair. But I got a haircut today. You shut your mouth when you're talking to me. Now I'm so self-conscious about it and I'm not going to do the fucking stream anymore. No more stream. Why isn't there a no option for the poll? You shut your mouth when you're talking to me, Black Rick. God. Black Rick over here won't shut the fuck up. Okay, let's get right into it. Everybody, Captain's got to teach stuff. You take a big old sip of coffee. Who's the biggest gooner in the Warhammer universe, and who should play them in the Warhammer Cinematic Universe? Nerd Avengers for Life. Great question. Great question. The biggest gooner in the Warhammer universe is definitely either Fulgrim or Slaanesh. Slaanesh is a god of like pleasure and debauchery and excess. So, you know, a lot of gooning. But Fulgrim is a Primarch that ascends to demonhood through the will of Slaanesh and becomes a crazy monster with tentacles that probably does weird tentacle anime corn stuff. As of right now in the lore, Fulgrim is on a pleasure planet, which is exactly what it sounds like, and literally probably gooning his brains out and ignoring all of the widers going ons and happenings of the galaxy. That's actually true. That's actually canon. So there you go. Okay, let's get into this. Let's talk about this shit. Let's talk about the game. Goddamn this curl. Goddamn this curl. Why'd you do it to me, chat? Why'd you put that curl there? Fucking buttholes. Just popped in at a terrible time. No, that's the best time. That's the best time. Now you're probably sold on Warhammer. Okay. So as I've been saying, it is the best time ever to get into Warhammer, and I want to explain why. And the cool part about this is that I got into Warhammer about 4 years ago. I got into Warhammer at the end of 9th edition, and then I got to enjoy all of 10th edition, and we're about to get into 11th edition. But I'll explain what all of that means, because some of you guys are like, what the fuck is an edition? Just chill. Why is it the best time to get into Warhammer? What the hell is an edition? What am I talking about? So in Warhammer, there's something kind of cool. I mean, I like this. I kind of appreciated it as I got into the hobby. And basically, it is that your models, the minis, the things that you buy, paint, build, or you get somebody else to paint them or whatever, your minis, they have a long shelf life in the game, meaning you'll have those minis for years, 10 years, 20 years, legitimately. And you'll be able to use them basically for most of that time. But the rules that you use when you play with the models is updated about every 3 years. Okay. This is done for a ton of different reasons. It's done to keep the game fresh. I think it's done to create sales, because it does create a sort of cycle where, you know, they can sort of change and like pull these little levers and get certain things to be popular and certain things not to be popular, et cetera, et cetera. But I think by and large, it's a good way to keep the game fresh. It's an exciting time for the game. And it essentially means that everything in, maybe not everything, but a ton of change is about to happen to the game itself. So this creates a time where a lot of the people that are already playing the game are, let's say, in a sort of limbo, because they're anticipating the changes. They're thinking a lot about what will happen in the next edition. A part of being into Warhammer is the hobby element. You sort of have a pipeline of things you want to have on the battlefield and the stage at which you are doing that. You know, do you have it? Did you buy it? Did you build it? Did you paint it? Technically, you can go play with something even if it's not painted, especially if it's a casual game, right? It's not a big deal. But essentially that pipeline of like, oh, I want this unit, I've bought these models, I've painted these models, and I'm going to get them onto the battlefield. At the end of an edition, when you're looking at a new edition, is a time where like maybe a lot of that sort of pauses, or you catch up on old work. You're probably not buying a lot of new models. Everybody's kind of waiting to see what will happen next. You know, something else that's kind of interesting about these moments of edition. Again, I've only been in the game for about 4 years, but the experience that I had was kind of interesting because I came in at 9th. And 9th had a lot of differences to 10th. And I came in at the very end of 9th when it was like really complicated, because they sort of add rules over time. Part of this is to sell codexes and models, right? A new model gets new rules and all that, right? So when you're at the end of an edition, it's technically the most complicated that it is, because there's just so many additional rules. So I got into 9th, and man, it was just like a fucker of rules. It was like, there was so much. Like 9th was so different. There was like war gear, a lot more customization on the armies. The army rules were absurd. I remember Custodians had like 13 different martial katas or something. It was just like fucking, it was ridiculous. So I came in at 9th. I then got to witness how the game became a lot simpler, but radically different from 9th to 10th. But what people are saying right now, as far as like in the actual Warhammer community, the change into 11th is not going to be as drastic as the change from 9th to 10th. So basically, what's about to happen, and this is going to happen in June or July, this summer, it will happen. We're going to have this new edition, and it's going to be the way to play Warhammer now, 11th edition. And that's going to be a big deal for people that are playing regularly. It's going to be a big deal for people that maybe played but have gotten away from the hobby a little bit. You know, it's like a video game or anything else. Like sometimes you'll be really hype on something, sometimes not so much. So it'll be a time where like a lot of other people come back in, and always it's a time when more people come into the hobby. The start of a new edition, it gets people. So it's this very like hyped up kind of fun thing, right? So with that in mind, and the fact that it is potentially the best time ever to get into it, and also, too, I'll add one more thing to this. I think, too, because Warhammer is just, frankly, more popular than ever, 10th was a big success. Space Marine 2 was a big success. Warhammer has been doing very well, a lot of growth. You hear me talk about this on other streams and whatnot, right? There's been a lot of growth there. So there's also this additional factor of it's maybe at a peak of popularity and kind of at a breakthrough point. So I expect 11th to be huge. And I think a lot of people will come into the hobby and get really, really excited. So with all of that in mind, chat, you may ask yourselves, well, then what do I do? What do I do if this is the best time to get into it, if I'm maybe interested in it, what are my next steps? What do I do? And the next thing that you have to do is you have to find an army. Okay, if you're going to play this game, you are going to have little army dudes or gals, tanks and planes and all sorts of shit, and you're going to show up to a place with them. You're going to put them onto a battlefield. You're going to move them around. You're going to roll dice. And then you're either going to feel really good or really bad when you win or lose, right? And obviously, in order to do that, you have to have an army. You have to select an army, right? And the thing about Warhammer is it's kind of a big investment. Unfortunately, there's not like a lot of like casual ways to sort of get in and try out an army. TTS is great. That's like the tabletop simulator thing. But either way, even if you're just getting into tabletop simulator, right? And you're wanting to play games on TTS, there is an incredible amount of shit that you're going to have to know to even like get going. So what I'm trying to say is this. Understand that it's going to be a hell of an investment, and therefore maybe the only thing that you should be thinking about and considering is what is known as the rule of cool. Okay? Now, obviously there are things that are good in the game. There are armies that are good in the game, and there are armies that kind of suck ass in the game right now. So maybe you don't want to pick one of the worst fucking armies out right now. Although, again, going into a new edition, that literally could be fine. They might be great in the new edition, right? But yeah, you probably don't want to run something that's total bonk. But my point is, and this is maybe one of the cool things about Warhammer, is really and truly getting into the hobby, having your army, being able to play a game is a sort of victory in and of itself. It literally is. It will feel good. You will be like, holy shit, I accomplished some shit. This is my fucking army. I assembled this, I painted this, or maybe I acquired it and got a paint job on it or whatever. I have this fucking army. Here I am playing. It's going to feel so fucking good. And I wouldn't think too much about meta or what's strong or whatever. It literally just needs to be, what do I think is dope? And that literally comes down to like, what do I think looks cool, number one, you know? So I would look at the different armies out there. I think there's 23 playable factions right now in Warhammer. So I would look at the different factions. I would literally decide what looks cool. What do I like visually? And it's like a big thing. Visuals in Warhammer are huge. Most of the armies have very distinct visual styles. They're doing different fun things. So, you know, you'll probably like pick up on something that you think is cool or whatever. And then the other part of it would be connected to that, the lore behind it, which is sort of a unique thing where the lore, whether it's in the codexes or the books or the animations or probably eventually, you know, the Henry Cavill stuff as well, all of that lore is consistent to the world of the game. And in fact, Warhammer does a pretty good job. They're not perfect, and sometimes they get flavor wrong, which we'll talk more about later on. But by and large, it's kind of fun and interesting how they take the stuff that is in the lore and put it into the game, either via stats or little powers or things that are on the character sheet of, you know, a certain character that has a certain item that you know from a book. It's pretty cool. So I would say definitely do not chase meta and just look at the rule of cool. And watch some battle reports, you know, look at models, kind of get into it from afar. Because, again, it is kind of an investment of time, of energy, but of eventually, like, literal money and a lot of time to fucking paint and even play this game. Like, it's crazy, right? So, in that sense, I think it's a great time to get into the hobby. I would be looking at different things if you're interested, right? If you want to get into the game, look at the different armies. Decide what looks cool, watch some lore videos, you know, watch some videos on them, maybe watch some battle reports, which are actual games. There's a ton of great channels that put on battle reports. I think I watched battle reports for like 6 to 9 months before I bought my first mini, just because like I was like, this army looks cool. I like this, but I really like didn't fucking understand the game at all. So I had to watch a lot of battle reports to even understand, like, okay, so this is a melee army, and their identity is this because in their lore they do this, right? And then, like, the Necrons come back to life. The Necrons keep coming back to life, and that has to do with their technology, and they're immortal, right? Soulless, immortal beings, and that's in their lore and all that sort of stuff. So part of the fun of it is kind of like the journey of getting into that. And eventually, yes, you will commit, and you'll start building your army, and then you have to decide, like, am I going to paint this shit, or am I going to get other people to paint it? I gotta say, like, when I first got into Warhammer, I actually couldn't believe that was a barrier to entry. And one of my buddies that's actually really into Warhammer, one of my buddies that I got really, really into it, he could not believe it when we opened up the boxes for the first time, and they're like gray and they're all on the sprue. He was like, this is fucking absurd. So they expect me to clip this shit out, glue this together, paint this, and then we get to play? Like, it does feel kind of fucking ridiculous. And coming from other games, like, you play Magic the Gathering, you just crack a pack, and your cards are there. You can essentially play. Pokemon, same way. Even HeroClix or Star Wars Legion, right? A lot of that stuff's, like, pre-painted, or you don't need it painted. You can play out of the box. So it is kind of fucking wild. And I think essentially you're going to have to decide immediately, is the painting and modeling side of the hobby also attractive to you? Do you dig it? Or do you not fucking dig it? Most people do dig it. Like, most people in the hobby like it. It adds an element of customization, and also, like, I don't know, it just feels dope to, like, actually work on your army. It's kind of an interesting way to engage with the hobby. I like it. I'll put on, like, an audiobook or a YouTube video or whatever and paint. But some people don't like it at all. Like my buddy that I just told you about, he has never painted a model in his fucking life, and he never will. And he has 2 full armies. 2 full armies. He has a Sisters army, and he has a Demons army. And he just finds good deals on eBay and grabs up models that are pre-painted on the cheap, and doesn't care that his army's a little mismatched, and he fucking just rolls bones and has a great time. So it would, kind of depend from there. And you're either going to have to set some serious cash aside if you don't want to paint, or learn how to fucking paint if you want to paint. And that's a whole nother thing. I'm not going to, like, get into that in an extraneous way right now. And then I would utilize Tabletop Simulator, and I would fuck around in there, kind of learn the game, learn the spacing of the models. That's like the bare minimum, the bare basics. But that is essentially how you would start Warhammer right now. Looking forward to 11th, it's kind of like selecting your army, learning more about the game, potentially starting to build stuff up. And you could play games on TTS as you build your actual army. You could play a 500-point game. You could play a 1,000-point game. But yeah, that's the basics. All right, any questions, class? Any questions on this very basic beginning of why it is the best time ever to get into Warhammer, and how to start? Any ideas? Can you have a female army? Yeah, there's a couple female armies. There's the Sisters of Battle, who frankly are fucking awesome. They're actually, like, literally one of the coolest things in Warhammer. They're all these, like, zealot, sexy nun warrior chicks. They're awesome. There's the Sisters of Silence, who technically work with the Adeptus Custodes, but you can actually just run a full Sisters of Silence army as well, and they're fucking fire. So if you really wanted to, you could absolutely do that. You should do a model tier list one day. Wait, what do you mean? Of, like, just the armies themselves, the drip? Are they baddies? Yeah, a lot of them are baddies for sure. Warhammer, we need people like you imparting the knowledge. Hey, I'm trying. Honestly, I'm sure I'd like playing, but I don't know for a fact. So I think I would need to love the show and get nerdy after. Do another one of these streams when the show comes out. Yeah, I think for some folks, like, the show would have to kind of get people into it, and they'd be like, oh shit, that's awesome. Maybe I do want to check this out. Maybe that'll happen. Maybe it'll be huge for the game. But I think too, like, getting into 11th, there's just going to be a lot of people getting into the game in general, for sure. No joke. Oh, okay, thanks. Thanks, bud. Worth holding off for 11th edition refreshes. I want to start a Grey Knight army, but from what I've seen, the models are pretty old. Yeah, I think that's kind of a great question. So, you know, you never know for sure what's going on in the rumor verse. It does seem like the Grey Knights will get some kind of a refresh. Although, you know, I've kind of watched Valrak kind of say maybe it's not as big of a refresh as maybe he thought or whatever. I would say this. The bottom line is this. If there's a model that exists right now for Grey Knights that you think is fucking dope and that you think will be dope, even if there's new other versions, I would still get that model now and practice. Like, kind of get it together, maybe work on painting it or whatever. There's nothing wrong with that. And also, too, most of the time, if there is an old version of a model, just because there's a new one doesn't mean you can't use the old version. You can use the old version unless it gets sent to Legends. And even then, you can still use it in casual games. So I guess it's like a FOMO thing, because on the one hand, you're like, okay, but if I spend a ton of money on this and then the new models come out and I don't have the money for the new models and then I'm missing out because I don't have the new models, fuck. Like, I get that. Just don't go crazy then. You know what I mean? Like, just do one or two. Like, I don't know. It's weird, too, because I remember, like, this is kind of one of the things that's kind of fun about an edition change. When I got into the game in 9th edition, there's this model for the Custodes called the, people call it the Blade Wizard, but it's a Blade Champion. And that, I thought the model was so fucking cool, but like, I'm just getting into the game. I don't know shit, right? I don't know shit about the game. I just like, this model is fucking cool. So I got one, and then I go to the shop, literally, and dude's like, this model sucks. Like, literally, he's like, dude. And I was like, I just think it looks fucking cool. And he's like, well, fair, you know, but it just sucks ass. Literally, a couple months later, new edition comes out. The Blade Champion is fucking amazing. Like, legitimately amazing. So that felt cool, where I was like, dude, yes, this Blade Wizard that I think is so fucking cool that I painted up, he's now incredible. So, yeah. Are there gods in Warhammer? Yeah, there are gods. I mean, some people will get really pedantic and be like, technically there are no gods. There are other dimensional beings that are somehow blah, blah, blah. They're fucking gods, dude. For all intents and purposes, they're gods. Yeah, there are gods that reside in the warp. There are potentially gods that reside in real space. Maybe the Emperor was one of them. But yeah, there's definitely gods, yeah. Hey, peace out, peace out. Have a good sleeps. What's the pricing like? How much for pieces? How much dollars? I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty expensive. Like, it's an expensive hobby. The minis are expensive. There's just no way around it. Now, the reason why they're expensive is because everything is done in England. So they don't really outsource anything. It's not like cheap labor. It's not outsourced printing or modeling or, you know, any of that. It's all like UK workforce. Like, they take it seriously and do a pretty good job. It is overpriced, I would say, but who am I to really make that call, because I don't know exactly what their margins are or whatever, but like, the shit's expensive for sure. There's ways to get it cheaper, just like any hobby, like if you're smart. So if you were to get into golf, dude, golf's really expensive, right? To have like a really good set of clubs, to go around and actually pay to golf, it's expensive. But really, a lot of that cost is up front. Once you have the clubs, you know, actually golfing is maybe not all that expensive. It's kind of similar with Warhammer. Getting an army, that shit's pricey, bro. Like, no way around it. Getting a full-ass army in Warhammer, pricey. You can build it over time, and once you have it, it should be good for 20 years. But it is pricey. Yeah. Yeah. If I'm pitching the Amazon series, what would I say? So, you know what's so interesting about this, and I'll end on this. There's a couple other things I want to talk about, like how not to suck in the game, and then I'll talk about my wishes for 11th edition. Then we'll get out of here. Okay. But here's what I'll say that's interesting about the Amazon show. Part of the problem with Warhammer in an adaptation, right? You think about big movies, a movie trilogy, or like, oh my God, a big show or whatever, right? Warhammer is more of a setting than it is a story. So it's this big spanning history with different moments and battles and interesting things. There's definitely big central story with characters through like the Horus Heresy and stuff. But for the most part, Warhammer is not a story. It's a setting. So that is actually a part of the problem. It's like, what do you do? Like, what story would you tell? How best to distill Warhammer into that format, you know? I don't know. I've been thinking about that. I'm like, holy shit, dog. That's a tough fucker of a... That's a fucker of a thing, man. That's a fucker of a thing for sure. May have mentioned it already, but is there a digital simulation version of the Warhammer game? I'm interested in playing it, but not trying to drop a fortune. Yeah, so there is. In fact, I'll pull it up here in a second. It's called Tabletop Simulator. Tabletop Simulator. Oh, thanks, Zach. Appreciate you, bud. Let me get this fired up, chat. And I'll show you some of this shit. So, Tabletop Simulator is actually how a lot of Warhammer is played these days. Even people that have ton of armies and actually go out and play quite a bit use TTS because it's a great way to get games in fast. And that is helpful when you're practicing, right? So even some of the pros do Tabletop Simulator quite a freaking bit. And I'll pull some cool stuff up for you, and I'll show you a little. I'll show you a little something about it. Okay. 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 All right. Okay. Okay. So that's there. Let's do. Oh boy. All right. Hopefully this doesn't like override the one game, because I had a game saved here that I still needed to finish. And you guys are ruining it. You guys ruined it. You ruined my game. All right. Uh-oh. Ruh-roh, Raggy. Hang on now. Hang on now, chat. Hang on now. Okay, so check this out. So this is Tabletop Simulator. This is a map of DOS Warhammer. These are the models. This is actually a game I was playing with a buddy. I was playing against his demons, and this is my Dark Angels. So you can kind of see over here. So this is a great way to get started in the hobby and learn about Warhammer. And I'll show you a couple of different things here. We'll do this one. Okay. And we'll do that map, hot dog style. Okay, so you can see in this, basically, guys, this simulates, and it is a true simulator of the, what is it, 40 by 60 or 44 by 60 board, the different objective markers, the defender zone, the attacker zone, all the terrain and all of that. And then you can simulate and load in your different models. Let's see here. So I'll do this guy, this guy. We'll do like a sniper guy. Like a Custodes guy. Okay. And so basically these are great. These are this is a great way to play. Adam and I play on TTS, and it literally will simulate, and you can do measurements. You can roll dice. You can play a whole goddamn game of Warhammer. check your range and all kinds of stuff on these digital boards. So yeah, that's a good way to do it. And then if you were to try, different armies out or whatever you end up liking in TTS, you can actually build in real life and start to build that way. So that's kind of like a more cost-effective way to do it. And I'm sure, although I don't have any personal experience with this, I'm sure there are people that only play via TTS. And there's a ton of people that play on here, different Discords and communities and stuff. So you could probably find a whole bunch of different games. And yeah, so that's either like a cost-effective way to do it or even just a totally free way to do it. Although I do think that obviously there's a fun in having the physical army, right? And actually building the physical army. So that's the basics of that. Now, let us discuss how not to suck at Warhammer. That's the next topic. And we'll go, yeah, you know what? I'll pull the screen up. I'll pull the screen up so that we can kind of have some visuals to explain it. Now, this will frankly be over some of your heads if you're not like familiar with the game or into the game at all in any way, shape, or form. But for the clip and for the audience that I want to build on that other channel, this will be relevant. So here's where he goes. So again, I've been playing the game for 4 years, Warhammer 40,000, and I really like it, and I don't suck ass at the game, which is cool. And that was not always the case. There was a good bit of time where I sucked a lot of ass at Warhammer. And actually, I think, frankly, I probably sucked too much for too long. Pause. But dead ass, I'm actually serious. Like, I was probably worse than I needed to be at the game because I wasn't thinking about it right for a long time. But eventually I got over that, and I can confidently say now, after playing for 4 years, I do not suck. And we're going to talk about how I learned to not suck so that you can not suck as well, because you don't want to suck. No, you don't want to suck. You don't want to suck. So let's get into it. First off, we're looking at a Warhammer board here, and as you get into the game, and you know, obviously from not knowing shit about the game to understanding the very basics, you will know you play this on a goddamn board. You'll also know there's objectives. The objectives change with the setup for the map. They're different, and you're going to have your primary mission, and you're going to have your secondary mission. So let's just go up here in TTS and let's draw randomly. Let's draw. Let's see what we would get in this random example here of our deployment, Crucible of Battle, and then we'll shuffle up here. This, take and hold. Okay, very, very standard. So this would be your primary mission. Okay, so let's change this to Crucible of Battle. Uh-oh, where's Crucible? Okay, boom. Crucible of Battle, and Take and Hold is the primary mission. Now, we'll quickly look at this. Again, some of this is going to be jargon to some of you guys. At the end of the command phase, or the end of your turn if you go fifth, whoever's player's turn it is for each objective marker they control, they get 5 with a maximum of 15 VP. So Take and Hold is very, very simple. You have one home objective. Each player has a home objective. There are 3 objectives in no man's land. You're going to want to take possession of them by putting figures on them or minis on them, and then you're going to want to hold them, thus take and hold, so that you control at least 3 so that you get 15 victory points. Okay, so that's your primary mission. Your secondary missions are these beautiful things down here, and you will either select fixed or tactical. Again, we're about to go into 11th edition, so this might change slightly, but I would imagine you're still probably going to get either fixed or tactical. It basically just means, are you going to randomly select what secondaries you want, or are you going to pre-select what secondaries you want because you have some kind of edge, or you've built in your army in a certain way, or you have some kind of, advantage over your opponent's army. But here's the point. You have to think about, and when I first started getting into the game and playing, I literally did not give enough consideration to the idea that you win a game of Warhammer off of points. Not by killing your opponent, although killing your opponent is a part of it, and you're going to want to kill your opponent, especially in certain situations, for sure. But you win the game, like the actual game of Warhammer is a points game. It is meant to simulate a battle that has a lot of variety and weird things that go on. And maybe one of your units has to go over and uncover this relic and make sure that the enemy doesn't get it. And we didn't know this fucking relic was here, but this relic is really powerful. Do not let the enemy get it. The fate of this battle will be decided on who gets this fucking relic. And it's totally random. And shit like that, like, happens throughout the stretch of a battle. That is simulated by the cards. So essentially, guys, you need to know what you're trying to do with your scoring. And that sounds obvious, but it's going to be hard when you first get into the game because there's so much to the game that it's overwhelming. Your army has rules. The model has rules. The model has stats. The model's weapons have range. The model's weapons have things you want to do. There's combos. There's your opponent's rules. There's your opponent's stats. There's all of these things that can go into your brain. Playing Warhammer is a fucker of a thing. I've played a lot of strategy games my entire life, dude. I played Magic the Gathering. I played HeroClix. I've played fucking, Catan. I used to go to Origins Game Fair and sample all these kind of weird, different games, man. I love fucking games. I love games. I love strategy games. Star Wars, Outer Rim. Incredible game made by Fantasy Flight. Gloomhaven, all these different. I like strategy games. Played them my whole life. I've never played a game that was as difficult as Warhammer. And I think it's because there's so much to it. It is so fucking involved and so fucking complicated. But what I'm trying to tell you is, in order to not suck, although you will be learning a lot, and although you definitely want to get your fucking models up to fight the opponent, I think a lot of people when they first play Warhammer, it's like they just want to get this unit to smash and attack and charge or whatever, fight. And that's all well and good, and you'll probably do that too. I did that. I got fucked up, But at the end of the day, I think if you could take a step back from that and understand that even from Jump Street, as you're getting into the game, there's going to be things you want to do. You're going to know what your primary is. You're going to draw your secondaries. And at every turn of the game, you should be thinking to yourself, what am I trying to do here to get points? And then you execute on that. So as weird as it sounds, as simple as it sounds, you need to think about from the very beginning, what am I actually trying to accomplish? And then try to execute on that. Now, step number 2 of how not to suck and how I basically figured out how to not suck. Because for a long time, I would sort of play like, oh, I know I want to bring this unit up and I know this unit wants to charge this unit. And that was kind of the depth of my thinking. Like, I'd look at a game and be like, okay, so my opponent has this unit, this unit, this unit. I'm going to move my stuff up, try not to get shot, and I'm going to try to slam into this unit. And that's like the extent of the thinking. But again, you have to think of how you're going to try to actually get the points and hold the points, right? And when you think that way, and this is step number 2, based off of what you are actually trying to do, you got to think about where you actually want to be. So what am I talking about? Let me try to actually set up an example here for you. So we'll go with, let's do a Deathwing Terminator squad. And then we will do an Eliminator squad. Okay, boom. Oh, that's okay. So this is what I mean. So I have 2 units here. Okay, I have a Deathwing Terminator unit. They are tough. They are hard to kill. They do decent in melee, but they do not shoot at all. Okay, and then I have this unit, which is like the fucking opposite. They are not sturdy. They're easier to kill, kind of harder to hit actually because they have stealth, because they're snipers, but they have long range sniper weapons. Okay, So let's put step 1 and step 2 together with these units and try to explain to you what I mean. So with take and hold, I'm going to be trying to take and hold the mission, and I'm therefore going to place these different kind of units accordingly so that they are where I want them to be. This unit, the big bulky sturdy unit, probably wants to be on a contested unit. Okay? I want to hold it. I want to make it difficult to, get killed. I definitely don't want to just have my snipers in the middle of the fucking board out here on an objective. Instead, they are better served hiding behind a wall, poking out, shooting, and these guys should be in front. Now, some of this is like very, very basic strategy game, war gaming thing. You have battle lines, you have melee units, you want to have a front line, you want to have a back line, very basic kind of generaling, so to speak. But it is important to think through how you want to do the thing that you're trying to do, and therefore where you want your units to start and end up. Okay, you have a deployment step. Each person is going to decide where each unit of their army begins. Then you're going to have a movement phase. That phase will have you move your units accordingly on the battlefield. And you only get 5 movement phases in a game of Warhammer. So you literally only put your hands on your models 6 different times. 1 to deploy and 5 other times to move them. Otherwise, it's all measuring and rolling dice. Okay? So how to not suck, number 2, and how I learned to not suck, step number 2, is to, with what I'm trying to do in mind, figure out where I want to place my units and where I want to move my units. There's so much more that we'll get into as far as like what is staging, what is trading, concepts that are actually like playing the game. But from going to knowing not a goddamn thing about Warhammer at all and sucking ass and being completely new and completely green to just plain not sucking, I promise you, step number 1 and step number 2, put that shit together. It's going to do you some good. Number 1, figure out what you're trying to do. And therefore, number 2, figure out where do I want to be when I set up and when I move. Step number 3, to not suck. And I purposely put this third because I think it's the first thing people do. And it's actually a part of why they end up sucking. And this is learn your stats and your rules. Now, obviously, look, listen, Linda. Warhammer's super complicated. These games take like 5 hours to play if you're going slow. If you're going fast, you can do a game in 2 to 3 hours. And that's a huge difference, okay? And what is the difference between a game that takes 5 hours and a game that takes 2 to 3 hours? The game that takes 2 to 3 hours, each player knows their stats. So we don't have to keep going back to the sheets or going back to these books to remember the stats or to remember the rules. At the top level of play, each player should know their stats. Each player should know their rules. Maybe sometimes there's like a conflict. You want to double check how a rule works exactly. Totally fair. But for the most part, you want to know your army rule, your unit rules, the stratagems. Like, dude, there's a lot of fucking rules to each individual army. And so I would highly recommend when you've decided on your army, when you've decided that you know more or less what kind of army list you're going to build, which is a whole nother thing of building, the list that you'll take to the tournament or to the game, you're going to want to learn all those rules and stats. So if you're a Space Marine player, you got to learn the Space Marine rules. Then you got to learn the rules to your detachment. That'll be, either you're doing like Gladius Task Force, you're doing a Dark Angels thing, a Blood Angels thing, an Imperial Fist thing. Like there's different styles and ways to play. Each one of those styles has a rule. Each model has stats. Each model has specific rules. Each unit has specific rules. It's a lot of fucking rules, dude. Like it's a lot of fucking rules. Okay. And so the more you learn it, and this is why like I kind of recommend just sticking to one army and probably just one detachment and one sort of like, they call it a shell. It's like okay, here's my units that are fodder. Here's my units that are anti-tank. Here's my units that are used for holding objectives. Here's my units that are really fast that are used for scoring secondaries. So you'll have like a shell, you'll have a build, and you could literally just net deck that, like look that up, look up what people are playing for your army, right? There's nothing wrong with that. And then you get a shell. I would highly recommend, in order to not suck, sticking with one individual shell, sticking with one individual detachment, so that you learn all the rules and all the stats. Now, again, a lot of this is probably going to change going into 11th. I'm curious as to how much the stats and rules will change, because, and this is sort of like a side tangent thing, but when we went from 9th to 10th edition, it was massive changes. But apparently 10th to 11th is not supposed to be a bunch of massive changes. It's more or less going to be, almost think of it like a patch update, like a 2.0 or something on 10th edition. So with that in mind, there's probably a lot that's going to carry over, potentially even stat lines. Like I imagine the Custody stat line is going to mostly stay the same. I remember it being the same at 9th to 10th. So it'll probably remain the same mostly going into 11th. But yeah, so that's the basics. That's the basics of how not to suck. Three tips. Number one, when you sit down and play a game, figure out what you're actually trying to do. Number two, figure out where you're going to place your units and how you're going to move them in order to do what you want to do. And then number three, memorize your rules, memorize your stats. Like seriously, memorize them. Write flashcards. Something like that. Okay, any questions? Are you all pros at Warhammer now? Any questions? Space Trick Cereal says, throwing 20 for the God King Emperor. You got me into 40K, and I thank you so much for it. I play every week now with my cousin on TTS. Yo, that's sick. However, I've taken back-to-back L's on 2 different 7-hour games. Oh my God. Imperium or else, and the Xenos and Chaos Nerd Avengers for life. Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. Okay, so hell yes, that's crazy. 7-hour games, dude. That's what I mean. And learn those stats, dog. Learn those stats. Because 7-hour games are crazy. You know, I've played a couple of 7-hour games myself. Yeah, I don't know if you want to be playing 7-hour games. But yeah, any questions about how not to suck ass? Did that make sense? Do you feel like now you're set up for the future? Do you feel like now you can go out there and not suck at Warhammer a lot faster? Does that make sense? Also, can you explain the dice rolling? I was mostly able to follow the last game you streamed, but the dice rolling was hard to follow. Yeah, so here's the thing. You roll a lot of fucking dice in Warhammer, okay? A lot of dice in Warhammer. Sometimes you roll dice when you move, if you're doing an advance. Sometimes, and a lot of times, you'll roll dice to charge. That's to move again in order to do combat. You roll a dice in order to hit an attack. You roll dice to see if your hit attacks end up wounding the opponent. Then your opponent has potentially multiple chances to save out of the damage. And then sometimes you will also then need to roll for the damage. There is a lot of rolling in Warhammer. If you like rolling dice, and I really like rolling dice, there's an abundance of dice rolling in Warhammer. But that's the basics of it, is like maybe you roll in advance in your movement. Maybe you have some shenanigans in your command phase. There used to be a phase called the psychic phase where you would roll for shit too, but that's no longer a thing. Maybe they'll bring it back, maybe not. But yeah, so maybe you roll a little bit here and there, but then the main rolling is the attacks. So you would have, each weapon has a ballistic skill. That is the number you need to hit to have a successful hit on the opponent. So if you're a Custodes, it's probably going to be a 2 because they're elite warriors. If you're some, random Space Marine, you're probably hitting on a 3. If you're some smaller unit that's maybe, I don't know, got some crazy weapon that you're not really a professional with or whatever, you're hitting on like a 4. And so you would literally roll the dice to see how many of your attacks would hit a 2 up or a 3 up or a 4 up, and then all of those are considered hits. Then you compare the strength of the weapon to the toughness of the target, And based on the difference there, you would either need to roll a 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 in order to do damage, basically. And then your opponent would have a chance to save. Does that make sense? Yeah, it's a lot, dude. Trust me, it's a lot. I totally get it. I think if you watch some battle reps, you'll start to understand the flow of it. I mean, I think Warhammer is basically like turn 1, you sort of move in order to be able to do a better attack on turn 2, because if you move too far out, you're just going to get attacked yourself. So turn 1, like you kind of move, they call it staging. You sort of move up so that then you're a little bit closer so you can attack next. And then turn 2 is usually like, I'm going to shoot a few things. My melee units are going to try to charge into some things and get into melee combat, and probably going to be melee combating into some objectives so that I can hold them for the primary mission. So, you know, it's like I almost want to say Warhammer's simpler than you think. While it is incredibly complicated, like it's a little bit simpler. Like you're basically just trying to, depending on what the primary mission is and depending on what your secondary mission is, you want to move your army up. You don't want to take a lot of shots, so you want to be protected by terrain. And you want to position your army so that you can then have a better attack or have gained enough space for secondaries or primary mission that you're winning on points. And then you sort of, it's a game of like risk reward. You know, I think really high level Warhammer is a lot of like trading and sort of, you know, mind games and maybe, you know, taking some risks over here, but maybe not some risks over here, having a game plan, but, you know, being flexible. I'll tell you, man, again, I've played a lot of strategy games. I find Warhammer to be incredibly mentally taxing, but also very rewarding. You know, there's just a lot that is available to you. And sure, games can get out of hand for sure. Like you can lose so many units that you're like, I don't really see how I'm going to win this. But if you play well and you're a little, you know, you're not maybe taking unnecessary risks, I've found that now I can be in most games. Like I have a shot at winning most games going into round 3 and 4, which is really what you want. So there you go. Can I paint each figure the same army, different colors, or is it better to keep them uniform? You know, I actually don't know if there's any rules that say they have to be uniform. Technically, there are rules that say they have to be like shaded. You have to have like a shaded base. Like there's actually rules for the paint. It's weird. But like your painting has to be like to a certain level. Like you can't just like glob a bunch of paint on it. For most tournaments, they're probably not going to call you out on it, but technically they could. Like your opponent could be a dickbag and be like, according to tournament section 37C, paragraph 2, sentence 8, you now forfeit 10 points to me. You know what I mean? Like get you on a technicality or some shit. But that's kind of an interesting question. I don't know if you have to be uniform. And I guess if you were doing like a Chaos Army, even if it were Black Legion, maybe it's a lot of different things together. So yeah, I don't know. It's more complicated than you'd think, but more simple than you'd hope. Maybe. I don't know if I'm going to agree to that statement, but maybe. I'll go as far as to say that's a strong maybe. Where do you get battle reports to review? I like 40K in 40 minutes. I like tabletop tactics. I watch some of Leon Dempsey stuff. I watch Trevi, Tactical Tortoise. I like War Games Live. I think that dude does great streams and does good coverage. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any others that I watch. Yeah, I like all those guys. You know, kind of like the standards or whatever. I hate technicalities. Yeah, technicalities can be pretty technical. How would I go about getting somebody to paint my minis? Well, so there's a couple of options. There's probably people that are selling painted armies, and you could buy something that was already painted by somebody else, maybe even long ago, or you could get a commission. There are a lot of painters out there that will do commissions, and so basically like, you know, whether it's like Siege Studios or, you know, just like a private painter or whatever, you would hit them up and you'd get a quote, and you'd be like, okay, here's what I want to do. I have an idea. I want to do 1,000 points of Blood Angels, and I'm just getting into the hobby. I really want to do these Blood Angels. What would it cost me? And they'll give you a quote, and they'll probably give you like, hey, if you want it like really pro painted, here's what it is. If you want like the base level, like technically tabletop available but not pro painted at all, it's going to be cheaper. So yeah, that's how you would do it. Is you would get a quote, and you'd have to think to yourself, what do I want? Do I want really, really good, or do I want fast and it's my first part of the army, so I'll just get standard tabletop painting and it's a little bit cheaper, but whatever. That's pretty much how you do it. Do you think Warhammer will eventually get Disney-fied? Is there a female custody issue a sign of that? Honest question, no shade. So, I don't know. It's a kind of an interesting question. The whole female custodies thing is like weird. Like we could really get into the weeds on what is that? What was that? Like, what is the thinking there? And I think people probably have different opinions on it, because like on the one hand, it's like it's kind of cool that they said there's no female Space Marines. Like, that's nice. And there was actually some controversy that kind of looked like for a second they were going to do female Space Marines, actually. And everybody was like, what the fuck? And so they sort of found this like middle ground where they were like, okay, we won't do female Space Marines, but we are going to do female Custodies. I don't get it. It feels like it's for inclusion. Like, it feels like they're like, we want more female characters on display to try to like bring more people into the hobby. Like, that's what it seems like to me. And I think it's fucking stupid. But will it be Disney-fied? No. I mean, it is inherently grimdark. It will never, like, you will never be able to make 40K so sanitized or Disney-fied that it would be like PG-13. I mean, I guess maybe you could make it PG-13, but even then you're going to be like pushing that line because of the nature of what it is. I think what's happening to Warhammer right now, and I'll be really interested to see like what happens with Cavill's show and all of that, right? I think it's more just big corporate stuff. It's just like big business. It seems like big business always has to like fucking tinker and do stupid shit and whatever. So it's more like, will Warhammer make the same mistakes maybe that other big corporations have made? And I think the ultimate mistake is forgetting the value proposition of like what the thing is. And then maybe, in the case of Star Wars, I think kind of what happened was they were unable to meet that. And so they went a different way. Like, they tried a different value prop. And man, that's bad. That I think is a really where a lot of Star Wars' problems are at. Do I think that'll happen with Warhammer? No. Is the female custodian thing stupid? Yeah, but I mean, honestly, like, you look at the female custodies thing, it's really not making that big of waves like as it maybe would in Star Wars or Marvel or whatever, right? Like, I'm talking about the actual fandom itself. People aren't like super hung up on it. There's not even a ton of discussions about it. And I think part of why is like, in a similar way to Marvel, Warhammer has the benefit of being so vast that, like, again, there's no real main characters. Like, the Custodies, like, I love the Custodies, and I'm super fucking butthurt about female Custodies, don't get me wrong. But the reality is, Custodies are, like, a very small part of the universe overall. Like, there are literally only about 10,000 of them in a literal world of billions of soldiers, right? So there's a lot of people that either don't fucking care about the Custodies or like don't care enough about this one particular thing in a vast sea of lore that are like really that butthurt about it. I kind of think Games Workshop will probably not really make that a thing and really force it any further than that. And for me personally, like, I'm just ignoring it. I'm like, yeah, whatever. It's just like a stupid modernity corporate thing, you know? But I'm sure they'll fuck up. You know what I mean? It's not like they're going to be perfect from here on out. I'm sure they'll fuck up and do some stupid shit. I think really it's more about how do these companies respond, and do we think they'll do more or less what is right for like the fans, for the people that really care about the shit ultimately. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. When you get into Games Workshop, there's like a lot of different opinions about that. I'm sort of new to the hobby. I haven't been around for some of the other things they've done. But I will say, as somebody that's experienced what it's like to, you know, potentially work with Disney or work adjacent to Disney and whatnot, I can tell you that a lot of what Games Workshop does is way better. So, yeah, it's sort of a long-winded answer, but that's what I think. All right, let's kill the segment. Kill the segment. It's 28 minutes. You fucked it up. You fucked it up, chat. You just made that way too long. My God. I asked you on stream a while back about comparisons between Warhammer and Halo. You gave me a great response. I ended up downloading Space Marine 2. Gonna get back into Arc, but it's taken all my time. Yeah, Space Marine 2 is cool. I mean, they're cool. They're fucking really cool super soldiers, right? Like, at the end of the day, I think a lot of our favorite sci-fi fiction has super soldiers. Super soldiers is a thing. Warhammer super soldiers are just fucking awesome. Like, Space Marines, it's kind of hard to beat Space Marines, dude. Like, they're very cool. Shock troopers, big tank-like beings, you know, but very, very cool. So I'm glad that you got into it. I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad you liked it. Bro, companies have to diversify and grow attention on their product. Yeah, in a sense, for sure. But look, and I don't want to get into the minutia of why I think the female custodians thing is bad. But I will just say that I think it's a very corporate idea to think that constant expansion and infinite growth is like actually a thing. And I think that Western companies have really fucked that up. And there is something to be said for scarcity. Okay? And scarcity in and of itself is kind of an scarcity is kind of an interesting idea. It's kind of an interesting thing to consider in our modern world. And what I mean is, like, essentially it kind of comes down to this. There's this thing that, like, Rick Rubin said that I think is, like, really on point for this whole discussion. He said, I don't really think about the audience at all. He says, when you think about the audience, you end up making a product that is trying to be for everyone, but ends up not being appreciated by anybody. It's like when you try to make a corporately controlled thing that is for everyone, you lose the essence of what the thing is. And in a sense, like, you have to sort of turn your back on the audience to, like, conduct the orchestra, meaning just do the thing, make it authentic, and then it should either have an audience or not, depending on how it resonates with people. Warhammer got to where it's at because there's a resonance. There's something about it that has resonated with people, and people have enjoyed and continue to enjoy it and been interested in more and more and more. And it was not female representation that did that. Do you know what I mean? And, like, that's okay to say out loud. Like, in this year of our Lord, 2026, it is okay to say that. And that's all I'm trying to say. What do you think about GW pushing Captain Titus as the main character of 40K? Seems like it's going to go that route. I mean, yeah, so Titus is very popular. And I mean, I hate to say it's like a Grogu situation, but it is a little bit of a Grogu situation where, you know, they obviously the original Space Marine game was out for a while. Titus had been a part of the canon for a while. Space Marine 2, though, is such a hit, and then there is that animation, that secret level animation was huge. I mean, yeah, I think it makes sense to pivot a little bit. People love this guy. Let's do a little bit more of this guy. Now, the fact that he's becoming John fucking Warhammer and getting, like, the craziest fucking rules, a whole new model and 500 worlds, and maybe Henry Cavill's going to play him now. Yeah, it's a little much. You know what I mean? Like, it is a little much. So let's pump the brakes a little bit on John Warhammer. But at the same time, like, I do kind of get it. It's working. People like him. Titus is cool. I'm not against Titus. All right, let's do one more little segment here, boys and girls. Then we're gonna get on out of here. And thank you for being here. Thanks for checking the stream out. I don't even know what the viewership is like or whatever, but I had assumed a lot of people are grumpy. They don't want to hear me talk about Warhammer. It's fine. I'm gonna do it anyway. Fuck you. You know. Let's talk about 11th edition. Did I like Secret Level? Yeah, I did like Secret Level. I thought it was pretty fucking cool. All right, so let's talk about 11th edition of Warhammer coming out in the summer, and there's some rumors out there. There's going to be changes to the rules. A lot of people are making these kind of videos where they're like, my predictions for 11th edition, or what I want to see in 11th edition. And so that's what we'll do right here. We'll start with, like, I think an obvious one that there are established rumors of, and is probably actually going to be real, and that is that flyers are probably getting a facelift, okay? So right now, this is kind of like a complicated thing to break down for you, but there's, like, you know, obviously your infantry, and then you've got vehicles like your dreadnoughts, your tanks, and all that sort of stuff, transports. But then you have flyers. You literally have flyers. It's planes. It's super cool, actually. But basically, for as long as I've been in the game, they've been ass. They were ass in 9th, and they're definitely ass in 10th. Their rules suck. They don't really make any sense. They're not viable. Basically, nobody runs planes or vehicles or flyers in Warhammer right now. And from what I understand, there's rumors that flyers are going to get an upgrade. So that's kind of maybe something to think about, too, as you're getting into the game. Look at the different flyers for the factions, the models that are out there. And if one of them looks particularly cool, maybe that's something that could sort of push you over the edge, because it does seem like that's going to happen. And I think that's cool. I don't have any flyers actually right now. I mean, I've got some Verters Praetors, Grav tanks, and shit like that, but I don't have any, like, of the Dark Angel Raven Guard planes or a Thunderhawk or anything like that. So if they do improve the flyers, I'm going to get more flyers. It seems like that's going to happen, and that'll be cool. Now, next up, and I think this will happen. I hope this will happen. I haven't heard any rumors about this, but I definitely want this to happen. I want 11th edition to do base to base line of fire, okay? Right now, the game operates off what is called true line of sight line of fire. It's absurd. It makes it so you can draw a line of fire from any point on your figure. And let me try to explain why this is crazy. So this dreadnought right here, okay? I could technically park him up against a ruin and have that spear poking out an edge, and then I could draw a line of fire from the edge of the spear out into Adam's infantry, and technically it would be legal, and then I could shoot him in the face. It doesn't make any fucking sense. It causes really stupid loops in the gameplay. It's terrible. Every model that is created from Warhammer put on a board has bases, and they're all the same. They're all standardized. So if you make line of fire base to base, I think it solves a lot of the problems that are currently in 10th. I really hope they're going to fucking do that. And yeah, I predict and hope that they will do that. The next thing that I predict for 11th edition, and then I really hope this is true as well, it has to do with flavor. Okay. So this is something you'll hear a lot of Warhammer players bitch and moan about right now. Valrak bitches about this so goddamn much. But they all say the same thing. They say that the flavor of the game is gone. It's too built for competitive. All the terrain looks the same. It's all ruins. All of the armies are played similar, and you don't even play armies that really feel like armies from the lore and stuff like that. So when I was in the game at the end of the night, there was arguably a lot more flavor. There was war gear. So there's just like so much customization that you could do with the war gear on your different units. Again, there was just so much more, even within the rules, of like different ways to experience your rules that felt way more flavorful. Honestly, probably too much. Like, honestly, the rules were a little bit too much, but it feels like going into 10th, it was streamlined to the point that you've lost some of the identity. You've lost some of the flavor from the game. And I think there's a way to sort of get it back a little bit. I don't know that it'll ever go fully back, and I understand that in order for the tournament scene to be sort of like easy to broadcast, and in order for the tournament scene to be easy for people to play and judges to judge and all that, you want it to be streamlined. I totally get it. I'm a fan of that aspect of 10th edition, but I do think there needs to be more flavor. So maybe there's customizable characters. They just had this thing in the newest Maelstrom version, the expansion of the game in 10th, where you could make customizable characters, which is kind of cool. And if they did something like that, and maybe they added war gear, and maybe they added a couple extra layers back into the rules, I think that would be a huge win, and that would be something that I really want for the game. And also, too, here's another thing that I think connected to the lore that I think could make this happen. I personally believe that in the current lore, Gilliman, or maybe Gilliman and the Lion, are going to bring the legions back. Okay? So this is like kind of a weird little TLDR lore thing, but basically right now in the lore for Warhammer, you can basically not have any more than 1,000 Space Marines in any particular chapter. And technically that means then you have 10 different divisions or companies that have different functions within that 1,000 Space Marines, which is kind of limiting. And I think I think truly that actually limits the design philosophy of the different armies. It's a part of why there's less flavor. So I think if they bring legions back, or they allow successor chapters to come together under single banners to operate a little bit more like a legion, something like that could crack the door open for a lot more customized stuff in 11th edition. So I don't know, maybe that's a little out there, but I think that could be a thing, and I think that could be really, really cool. And then this is the last one, and I really think this would be key to the game really blowing up and getting a lot bigger, and I think that would be organized play. So I don't know how many of you guys have ever done organized play for a game. Maybe you've played Magic the Gathering, or you've played HeroClix or some other strategy game. And Magic's probably the best example of this, where they'll have organized play. There's Friday night Magics, and every Friday night you get together and you play standard, and it's a tournament, and if you win Friday night Magic, there's a prize. Sometimes it's a promo card, like a special version of a card. Sometimes it's just more product, like more blind boxes that you can use. But this is actually something that Warhammer does kind of bad. There's a lot that Warhammer does well with their game and their balancing and stuff like that, and a lot of stuff I'm really impressed with. But this is an element that they suck at, and I don't understand why there's not maybe certain models, versions of models that are available through organized play. I think that would be brilliant. They sort of do that with icons models, and then with certain models that they'll put available through the app, through Warhammer Plus and whatnot. But I don't understand why there's not either upgrade sprues or particular models that are available through organized play, or even like dice, maybe like customized dice or something. I think that would be a great way to get more people to do this. The competitive scene of Warhammer isn't terrible. They have like golden tickets, they have circuits, they have a lot of different organizations that like keep track of your points and score how well you do in a season of playing at tournaments. But there's not enough support for the casual players and for more casual things going on at your local game store. And I think, and I hope that they do way more of that, because that would be fucking fun, man. And this used to be a big reason as to why I would do tournaments in HeroClix. HeroClix would have a set that would come out, and maybe it would, let's just say it would be like a Spider-Man set or whatever, right? And there'd be all these like cool figures that you could get out of the boxes, but then there'd be this one Spider-Man, and maybe it was like the Iron Suit Spider-Man, and he's just like fucking dope as hell, man. But you could only get him if you win a tournament while that organized play event was going on. So you had like 4 weeks to try to win a tournament or buy one offline from somebody that won. And it was so cool. It was like a status symbol to win one of those and to get one and chase it, right? So Yeah, I kind of hope and wish that they would do something like that for 11th edition. And then other than that, I kind of expect it to be an upgrade of 10th. I think you'll probably get a bunch of free ways to play, or maybe still be able to use your codexes from 10th, which I think will be good. But yeah, those are my predictions. So flyers, base-to-base line of fire, more flavor, like either through customization of war gear or customized characters, and then better organized play. That's what I want. What do you guys think? Do you even know what any of that means? More barbecue? I'd be down. I'd be down. That figure looks badass. Yeah, that is a Achilles dreadnought done in a Shadow Keeper's paint job. This thing's actually fucking badass, bro. That thing's good. I actually didn't paint this. I got this in a lot, but I need to make its base. But yeah, it's pretty cool, pretty cool. Tournament exclusive minis would be really cool. Yeah, man, like it'd be awesome. You know, I think they could do it. Also, Blood Bowl is cool. Is it cool? Are you having fun? Are you trying to play it? Or are you just building up your army and whatnot? How creative can you get with the map making? Can you make multiple elevations, etc.? So you can, and when I first got into 9th edition, we would do that a little bit more. In 10th, it is a little bit more streamlined, and I think it's done like, so if you look at, like if you look at this, right? The reason they do that is so it's a lot easier from a top-down view. They kind of want to turn it into like an e-sport a little bit. And they want it to be very easily top-down viewable, or to have like side cameras and make it really easy. So you basically just use these, what are called L-shaped ruins. And yeah, you don't even have a lot of like other layers and stuff like that. But dude, you can play like more casual or even kitchen top and build it however you want to build it, man. You could build a fucking labyrinth of stone walls, you know, if you really wanted to. I've seen some really cool customized maps, iconic like diorama type maps, and you know, all sorts of cool stuff. So you can have a lot of fun with it. But the flavor side, this is kind of what I mean, is like in 10th, the flavor kind of took a backseat to some other considerations. So yes. But I'm excited. I'm excited to see what they do in 11th. Like legitimately, it's going to be so fucking cool. We might get more leaks in the next couple of weeks. And then June will be when it happens. I think there's going to be some demos for it. This is what happened in 10th too. There'll be a couple of Comic-Cons where you can kind of demo the game, and people will leak that on Reddit, but it'll be like an incomplete like explanation. Like I remember like trying to figure out 10th from 9th. And the guy was like, okay, I demoed it. It seems like this is a thing. Because, like, bodyguard units were a new thing in 10th edition. Plugging a unit into a thing as a bodyguard. And having people try to explain that was weird at first. You're like, what the fuck? But basically what I'm saying is we're going to find out soon. And that will legitimately be a really fun thing for Warhammer fans. Like, oh, my God, here's what 11's going to be. And so that's going to be cool. And it's right around the corner. It's right around the corner. A few years ago, my Toy Fair booth was right next to Games Workshop, and after the show, they just leave product there or throw it away? What? What the fuck? Morpho Knots, you better go back in time and get that product, because what? Holy, brother, holy. You can't be saying all that. That's crazy. That's crazy. What's up? I think it would be fun to see me and Adam playing Blood Bowl. I don't know if I'm going to get into Blood Bowl, to be honest with you. I do think there's a way Adam and I can stream a couple of games here and there, which will be cool. And maybe even figure out a way to do some battle reports with that or some content with it. But, yeah. Yes. Yes. How much time originally was between the first and second edition back in the day? It seems like they're going through editions fast these past few years. That's a good question. I know when first edition was basically Rogue Trader, might have been 2 years later, I think, when they did second. Yeah, I don't really know, man. It's a good question. I know I've got it in one of these books somewhere, but yeah, I'm not sure. But it does seem like basically since 8th edition, it's been on a 3-year cycle. Is Warhammer all D6 or multiple dice? It's mostly D6s. People use like spin downs for damage to keep track of damage on their things, but yeah, I think it's all D6s mostly. Yep. Oh, cool! You gonna watch the other Warhammer videos? They're cool. I got a couple other we're working on. Just going slow. Just going slow. But anyways, guys, I'm gonna get on out of here. It was a fun little Warhammer stream. It was a fun little Warhammer stream. You think it's been 3 years since 8th? No. What I'm saying is, since 8th edition, they've switched every 3 years. Does that make sense? Might have to do a Warhammer stream once a month. Let's just keep doing Warhammer streams and fuck Marvel. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No. Let's not get crazy. Doomsday's coming out. Okay, we got Doomsday. You completely misread me. I think it's been 3 years since 8th. What? You're 3 years since 8th. What's on the menu for tomorrow? We're gonna talk a little spiders, man. I watched that Tom Rothman interview that he did with the podcast with Bellany. It was actually great. So we'll talk a little bit about the movie industry and also some Spider-Man stuff that he put in there. Charles Murphy is teasing that he knows all about Doomsday, and he's teasing that he might put it out there. I would love it if Charles put it all out there. That'd be cool. We can talk about that. I was saying it's been every 3 years since 8th. No, that's what I was saying. No, Adam. What? That's what I was saying. I was saying that. Just say no. Hey, Josh, I saw a crazy rumor about Mando and Grogu. Would you feel differently about it if Rada isn't the main character? I heard the plot is the Empire using Underworld to launder money and create chaos. Yeah, it's probably that, but also I think Rada's playing a big role in the movie, man. And I'm not psyched about that. If Luke Skywalker turned Rada into sushi, scene 1 of the movie, and they tease that in the trailer, yes, I will be excited. We'll never know who said it first. You didn't even say it. I said it. So how about that? All right, guys, we're going to get on out here. Last thing, though, before we go, I have a random question for you guys. Do you remember ever going to Sam's Club when you were younger and getting all of the samples? I have, like, really fond memories of going around Sam's Club, and there are all those people. It's usually, like, the old, decrepit employee that can't actually lift any of the boxes anymore, and they were out there, like, serving the samples. Do you guys ever do that? I have such fond memories of that, man. Do they still do that? Do they still do the samples? I feel like I need to take Liam out, and we need to hit all the samples. Who does sampling like that still? Trey, you missed it. It was incredible. Everybody's so psyched. Everybody's getting into Warhammer now. It's great. They should do that at the Games Workshop. Sure, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. You never been to a Sam's Club? You're missing out, dog. You're missing out. Core memory for Liam too. Yeah. The Emperor Protects. Yeah, you can watch on a replay. I'm also going to start a new channel, a whole nother channel called Nerd Hammer, where we're going to do nothing but talk about Warhammer modeling updates. We're going to go over stuff. Shit, we might need to stream again tomorrow because I got to talk about the new Tau minis. Thursday, they're doing a whole thing for the merch. We might have to do another Warhammer stream on Thursday. Maybe we just start doing all the Warhammer streams. Don't you need a membership to go? My family was poor. Yeah, you need a membership. I think it's like $50 a year or something like that. Actually, Elisa, the reason Sam's Club is on my mind right now is Elisa was just talking to me about how she's going to cancel our Sam's Club card because she never goes there. And for some reason, I don't want her to cancel it now, even though she never goes there, because I'm like, no, I have fond memories of going there and trying the samples out. And if maybe I want to do that with Liam sometime, and I won't be able to if you cancel our Sam's Club membership. Now, here's the thing. I have never been to Sam's Club since we got the membership. I don't leave the house, guys. I don't leave this room mostly. I barely live, you know? But at the same time, it just doesn't sit right with me not having a Sam's Club membership, you know? You should get your paper towels and butt paper there. Oh yeah, they got good deals. Good deals. You know what we got a lot there was diapers and formula. Real talk. It's that's Sam's Club was great for saving a couple bucks on that. Or just a bidet, dude. I don't want no wetness near my butthole. It's I'd rather have a piece of sandpaper. I'd rather have a chunk of bark. I'd rather have a live tree, like green, still in the ground. Can't kill it or rip it out. All right, maybe I got a little crazy there, but you get it. You get it. All right, everybody. Hey, much love. I'm going to get on out of here. Thank you so much for being here. We'll be back at it tomorrow. Regular shit tomorrow. Lots of cool Marvel stuff. Maybe some Star Wars. Maybe we'll shit on Star Wars. I always like doing that, too. Hell yeah. All right, you guys have a good night. Seriously, thank you so much. Yeah, check out. I'll let you know when I put the stuff up on the Nerd Hammer channel, probably like tomorrow. Go over there, check it out. We'll keep cranking some Warhammer vids, and I think for a certain part of the community, we'll have fun together, get into Warhammer over the next couple of years. I want to get out and play more tournaments and try to win some. I'm gonna win a tournament so that you guys respect me. I will be respected. I will win a tournament in 2026. In fact, you heard it here. I am winning a tournament in 2026, and you will respect my authority. All right, everybody. Much love.